1370 WOCA.
WOCA.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock on a drizzly, I think it's still drizzling out there. Looks like a drizzly Monday morning, and Rabbi Yossi Hecht sitting in the studio now with his flamingo friend, and
Yep.
Rabbi Hecht is our friend also. He's the rabbi of the Chabad. Wow, I did my hukh pretty good.
You got it good?
Sometimes I get a good hukh, and sometimes I don't. The Chabad Lubavitch Jewish Center of Marion County, and he's here to speak about something that'll educate us, the Simchat Torah, the celebration of that, rejoicing with the Torah. I don't know if it's the English translation of what I just said or not. The celebration begins the evening of Thursday, September 26th, which we're just about there now, and it ends on the 27th, and that's all I know. Except for Rabbi Yossi Hecht is in the studio. Good morning, Rabbi. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you? Thank you for having me as usual.
How do you like your new on-air partner over there? Pink.
Yeah, I always waited to sit next to a flamingo. I really appreciate that.
You know, it's a fundraiser for the Ocala Health Systems to fight cancer. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of fundraisers in our community. Do you have the same thing in the synagogue?
Yeah, there's a lot of charities in this town, which is a really nice thing.
That is a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Everyone's looking to help, and that's really beautiful. But do we get one of these flamingos? Maybe we can help out.
Yeah, they're putting them up all over the place. That's part of why he's on, like, he or she, I guess that's a she, it's a pink one, huh? Mm-hmm. on the camera.
I've never seen a blue flamingo.
That's right. Start a new trend.
It's true. It's true. The blue flamingo. Sounds like a bar, doesn't it? The blue flamingo. I'm going to the blue flamingo.
That's right.
So how you doing? You got a new baby.
Yes, we do. Thank God. She's
That's
doing
cool.
well, and we're very happy. It's always nice to have another addition in the family. She brings joy and happiness, and that's what it's all about.
And she was born in such a loving couple. You and your wife are so gentle, and I always feel like I'm too loud around you. Like I should quiet down a little bit. Is it quiet in your home?
Oh yeah, very quiet with 4 kids. Very, very quiet.
You ever pump up the music and all?
Yeah, don't worry, we have enough noise.
So what's popular? When Alex was little, Rugrats was popular. And, Real Monsters. What's popular right now with your children?
Now the kids are all busy with the iPads, the iPhones. They could get anything you want.
Your children, really?
Yeah, they do it all by themselves.
Wow.
What are they looking at, though?
My daughter loves to look at all the American Girl dolls online. And
What's an American Girl doll? What's that?
It's kind of like a Barbie doll, only it's called American Girl.
Oh, okay.
She's got different outfits and like a rock star.
It's like the Cadillac of dolls, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
It is. It's the Cadillac.
Oh, so they want you to spend your money.
Yep.
And my son is busy with the Playmobiles. They have enough things to look for. Don't worry.
Oh, wow. Do they understand what you do?
As far as what we do in the synagogue,
are they old enough to know? What you do?
Yeah, they help out. They come all the time. They bring their own little songs that they sing for the community, and they love it. And they're actually a very important part of what we do, because when the children are around, people feel that they're like part of a family.
Right.
Whereas in a normal synagogue or temple, when they just come in and there's just a service that takes place, they feel very formal. Whereas when you come to us, it feels very much in a homey environment, and especially when they see that in the middle of the services, my son comes over and he'll hold my hand, or my daughter will come over and sing along with me as we're singing the traditional tunes.
Right.
And if we're sitting and celebrating together, and my children will stand up and say something or sing something, and it really has an incredible feeling, and everybody loves it.
Yeah, really. I've often thought that when we learn something as children, we take it for granted that we know it. And a good example of that is music. If you learn a musical instrument when you're young, and you just kind of take it for granted, you just know how to play it, right? When you get old, you meet somebody who just started playing an instrument, and they're like crazy, like they know so much, and they really don't. And the same thing happens, I think, in religion. And I went to Sunday school when I was a kid, but I didn't study like you did. But every once in a while, you bump into somebody, 30 years old. They just discovered the Bible. They just discovered a religion of whatever religion. And all of a sudden, they're experts on it. It's like, wow. They actually think that we don't know. Have you had that happen? Have you had somebody?
All the time.
A newcomer to religion, and all of a sudden they're a step. They I guess maybe they're challenging you. Do you get that?
Yeah. Well, actually, the other day I had someone who came over, and she's starting to learn more and more, and she told me about something that she learned about the way I interacted with my daughter, and how I told my daughter how she has to wish her a happy holiday, and I did it very much naturally. And she said, wow, I never looked at it that way, and you just taught me something by what you told your daughter. And I thought that it was amazing that sometimes we do things that you don't even realize, and yet for other people, maybe something very new.
Do you think God takes suggestions? Because I got one for him.
What's your suggestion? Let's hear. You always have good suggestions.
My suggestion for God is the next men he creates. The attraction thing to women has to happen, otherwise there's not going to be babies. But once we hook up, once we get married, he should make the attraction thing go away, so you know your eye isn't wandering anymore, right? Mm-hmm. See,
he listened to your request. The problem is that sometimes it happens at the attraction with your wife is where it goes away, and that's when problems start.
That's right.
But I mean, that attraction gene doesn't go away. And trust me, I'm sitting at a window where there's a lot of distractions.
Well, that's good. Nature is still involved.
Yeah, I guess so. So teach me about this. Am I saying it right? Simchat Torah?
Simchat Torah.
Oh,
you should
of
know.
course. I should have known.
Simchat Torah.
All right. What does that mean?
Simchat Torah means the joy of the Torah. The Torah is the Torah scroll, which is the Bible in Hebrew. And it's the scroll which we have tradition back from Moses, that it's written on parchment with special ink. This is a scroll that we read from every single week. In synagogues throughout the world, they read it sometimes 3-4 times a week. And it's split up into 53 portions, and each portion we read a different week throughout the year. And it's completed on this holiday of Simchat Torah. We read the final portion, and then we begin anew. So now on Saturday we're going to read the very new portion. We're going to start again from the Torah. So on Thursday night, Friday, we conclude the final portion of the Torah, and then we begin anew. And this is something that we have to always do every year, realize that it's not something that we're just completing and then moving on, but a completion has to right away come with something, a beginning of something new. We can't just forget about the past and say, we're done, let's close it up. But we right away have to begin something new, a new project, anything that we're doing in life. When we complete something, it right away has to start. If you're graduating high school, you have to know that it's not just forgetting about the past, but you have to move on to something higher, better, and so on and so forth.
We were talking the other day, Robin and I mentioned this to you briefly before we went on the air, about the hard task that you have as a rabbi, or that a pastor might have in a Christian church, or any religion, right? The head of a religious congregation, when somebody dies. Or commit suicide, which is probably even harder, or a child, or an accident. It's got to be the hardest thing. And combining that with what you just said about reading the Torah, do you ever read it? I mean, you've read it so many times, but do you ever read it and it suddenly is saying something different to you in response to somebody? Like if I asked you a question that was one of those deep ones, which don't expect too many from me, but if I did, and you suddenly were, I don't really know the answer to that one. And the next thing you know, you're reading the same words you've read 100 times, and there's the answer. Has that happened?
That's a very good question, and yes, that happens all the time. And not only that, but we're supposed to find the answer in the Torah, because Torah is timeless, and it has the answer to everything in life. And it's just a question of if we're looking at that and approaching it, and every single day we should find something that's new. There's an old Hasidic saying from our teachers that says that you have to live with the times, which means that you have to live with the Torah portion of the week and find how that is connected to the times. And if you do read through and you follow along, and you'll see how there's always a message there for even our modern world. And sometimes when it comes to grieving, it's a very difficult thing, and we always have to try and find an answer of how we can grow and move forward and not get lost in the grievances.
Rabbi Yossi Hecht is here, and we're talking about the Simchat Torah, the celebration of it, and the rejoicing with the Torah. Does that mean the same thing?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing. Okay, you just made it easy for me, or Robin did. And it starts on the evening of this coming Thursday and ends the evening of Friday. And we have a phone call. Ready to take a call? Mm-hmm. Good morning. You're on the air with Rabbi Hecht.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you was on the air. How do I get the office?
You want to get the office? 732-8000.
732-8000.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You also say that there's a lot of festiveness, a lot of dancing involved with this for the celebration.
Yeah, well, of course, when we're celebrating with the Torah, which is our most sacred book, and universally it's the most sacred book throughout the world, and everybody celebrates with the Torah and the Bible, and this is our blueprint for life and for the world around us. And it's a celebration when we conclude it, and we know that we've reached a milestone, and you have to celebrate that, and that is the greatest celebration. There's many special prayers we say. In some places they'll go and they'll dance in the streets with the Torah, and it's a time that we really do celebrate. Well, we will have a lot of food. We'll even have a little bit of something to take a little drink.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
For adults. And for children, we have flags, special flags, which they can wave, which say on it, Happy Simchat Torah. Of course, we're going to take out the actual Torah, and we will be holding it while we dance throughout the synagogue.
Will you be reading it in Hebrew?
We read it in Hebrew, yes, and we always have translations and explanations that I give as I'm reading along in the Hebrew. And I do this actually every week. And every single Torah portion, we always discuss, as you mentioned before, what is the modern lesson that we can learn from that week's Torah portion. And this is something that we always constantly do. Whenever we have a question, the first thing you have to look is, where can we find the answer in the Torah? Where can we find the answer to the Bible? Because this is God's words, and this is God's teachings to us. And this has the answers for our dilemmas in life and for that which we're looking for the answers.
And where are you going to celebrate this? Because I assume is it a community event?
It's a community event. It's going to be in our small synagogue, which you've been to.
Mm-hmm. But you go out through the front door. if you're not Jewish, you get a yarmulke at the front door.
Yes.
I made that mistake.
You can come in from the side or the front. You'll be welcome either way.
Not the back, like we did. We made a mistake.
Don't worry, the back will be closed. But in the back, we have our sukkah, as we discussed last week, our little hut for the holiday of Sukkot. And so actually now it would be the right time to come through the back.
Oh, really? Okay, all right. Is there you just had a little girl, I have a couple questions about babies. Do you have, in the Jewish religion, is there a first religious ceremony for babies? Like in the Catholic Church or the Lutheran Church, there's a christening or a baptism or something like that. Is there something similar?
Well, in Jewish tradition, we believe that anyone that's born to a Jewish mother is automatically part of the Jewish faith. And you don't have to do anything to make them part of the faith. Now, when it comes to a boy, we give them a circumcision at 8 days old, which of course won't work for a girl. But as far as a girl goes, we do make a special celebration for them, and we welcome them in, so to say, into the Jewish nation as well.
So it's the child of the mother that determines the being Jewish, not the child of the father.
Yes, in Jewish tradition, it goes after the mother.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And also what we do is we do make a special prayer by the Torah. We're talking about reading the Torah. There's a special prayer that we say where we mention the child's name and the parent's name. And at that point also we're welcoming them in, so to say, to the Jewish nation. Does
the name have any rules associated with it? Can you name your child anything, or?
Well, you look for a Jewish name, and but what exactly constitutes a Jewish name?
Yeah, really.
Obviously a biblical name is a Jewish name, but my children, not all of them have biblical names, but they have Jewish names based on what was given back in Europe or back in Russia. So it's hard to say what exactly is considered a Jewish name.
There's some names from the Bible we won't name anybody, like Jezebel. You don't name your children Jezebel, right?
Right, and no Hamans. We won't have any Hamans.
What did he do? What did Haman do?
he tried to destroy the Jewish people.
Oh yeah.
no.
You don't want to Haman.
No.
And who's the guy who betrayed Christ? What was his name?
Judas.
Judas. No Judases.
No
Yeah.
Judas.
Except there was a Judas Priest band. Remember?
Yeah, there was there.
Is there a Yossi in the Bible?
There's a Joseph,
Joseph.
which is actually my name.
Right.
Is Joseph,
Yeah.
but I'm referred to as Yossi.
Yossi. I like Yossi. He's the only Yossi I know.
My name is Joseph Yitzchak, which is Isaac.
Oh,
I actually
okay.
have two names,
Okay.
two biblical names.
Does the world events come up in the synagogue as far as the way they might affect people that you know, especially in the Middle East?
Well, of course, Israel is always that, which is a very important discussion, and we're always worried for Israel and praying for Israel. We try to stay out of the politics involved because the last thing we need is having people fighting about who to vote, and we've seen this many times, and I'm sure you've seen it as well. People breaking up families just because of who they voted for.
Yeah, right.
But we do always talk about what's happening in the modern world and what's happening especially in the Middle East, and what we can do to pray for and help our soldiers. There have been a few tragedies in Israel recently where there was an Israeli soldier who was friends with he had a Palestinian friend who he worked with, and his friend convinced him to go on a trip with him, to take a ride with him in a taxi. And he took him for a ride, and sure enough, they didn't go where they had planned to go. And he killed him and threw him in a well. And until they found out where he was, and they were able to track him down. So this was a terrible story, happened recently, and of course we're praying for the family of the soldier.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
And it's just the way. I mean, the world is so nutty. I mean, people actually believe that that's what God wants them to do.
Yeah, that God is always looking for peace and not for war.
The flyer that I'm holding right here. The new year just passed.
Yeah, it's coming to an end almost, that flyer.
Oh, it's not. Oh, the flyer is, but the new year was last week, right, or something?
2 weeks ago. This entire month is pretty much a celebration throughout the entire new year.
So do you do it again in January? I mean, do you do the secular New Year or whatever?
Well, we'll have celebrations for the new year.
Yeah. Wow.
And this year, the next festival, which is Hanukkah, will fall out on Thanksgiving, which is very early compared to normally around Christmas time when it usually falls out.
Right. So this year it's the Jewish Thanksgiving.
Yes, it is.
I remember Rabbi Berman used to say, it is not the Jewish Christmas. Hanukkah is not the Jewish. This year it's the Jewish Thanksgiving.
We can have turkey together with potato latkes, which is customary to eat on Hanukkah.
Oh, wow.
Those are
That
good.
sounds good, actually.
When you have your services at the synagogue, do you light candles?
We light candles, and as a matter of fact, in Jewish tradition, we like Jewish women are commanded
I
to
do
light
too.
candles every single Friday night, and also whenever you're remembering someone that has passed, you light a candle as well. But every single Friday night, there is a commandment for the Jewish woman of the household to light a candle to bring light and peace into the home in honor of the Shabbat, the Sabbath. And this is done also during holidays. So if there are Jewish women listening out there, I want to tell you as well that you shall take the opportunity to light candles every single Friday night as well.
So what do you have a CD player in your car?
CD or yeah,
What's in it right now?
what's in it right now?
I never asked.
You probably
I don't
have
know. I'm
some
always
sticks,
listening to
you know.
WOCA.
I don't have one in mind either. I don't have anything in mind right now.
Do you hold services here in Ocala and also in the villages?
Yes, we do. And now that you mentioned that, I wanted to also mention that we'll be having a mobile sukkah for the holiday of Sukkot, where we have these special huts, as we spoke last week, where we're commanded to sit and outside to remember God's protection for us in the desert. And we'll actually be having a mobile sukkah, which will be traveling to the villages where we can celebrate with them as well. And look out for it on the road. If you see something that looks a little strange out there, and it says
Could be
a happy sukkah from Chabad, you'll know that it's us.
Oh, wonderful.
It could be the
I love
Google
that.
car. The Google car looks weird too. So
Well, I don't know if I want to drive next to a Google car that's driving on its own.
But I mean the one with the camera. The one that does the street view. If you were driving in front with your Sukkah mobile, you'd be in the entire picture. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about? Google Street View, right?
I thought you were talking about the Google cars, which are now on the road. That
have no drivers.
They have a driver, but he's not driving.
I know. That's crazy, isn't it? But I mean the one with the cameras. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
With the
yeah.
So if you had your Sukkah mobile,
And it'll be there forever.
Yeah, it would always be in the picture for a while till they had the next one.
Well, we'll have to look around if we can get one.
Since you teach everybody else, Rabbi, do you have to attend certain classes throughout the year with your peers?
Yeah, well, we have one international convention every year, which takes place in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and that it's always it's going to be coming up in about a month.
Oh.
And we have about 4,000 people that gather together from throughout the world. And actually, it is the largest sit-down dinner that New York has.
Really?
And
Wow.
there is no hall.
New Yorkers always stand when they eat.
That's even in New York. And there's no hall that's big enough. They usually have to rent out a pier to sit down. Yeah,
A
it's
pier. Which pier are you going to use?
In the past, they've used Pier 96. I don't remember all the ones. Pier 90, I think. I don't remember which ones they used.
Do you change the plans if it rains?
Well, last year they had to change plans for a different reason because there was
That's
a
right.
big rain that took place.
Yeah, right.
So the pier was washed away.
So do you have to, does each rabbi have to stand up then and say what they're doing in their synagogue and share with others as to
Well,
what's
what
going
we
on?
have, it's just like any convention where you have workshops and you have people giving ideas and helping each other out, and you have, of course, keynote speakers as well, and it's an event that we look forward to, and then you'll also have some smaller events where we get together as well.
So you're going to New York next month?
Mm-hmm.
Robin's going next week.
Yeah, when?
She's going to be gone before you did it. Wouldn't that have been cool if the two of you could have been up in New York together?
We could have gone out for lunch
Yeah,
somewhere.
there you go.
You could have gone on to Pier 96. Hey, Rabbi!
For a good New York deli.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Will you be one of the keynote speakers? Because you're very knowledgeable and very
keynote-y.
people-oriented, though. You have to be a person-oriented,
Keynote-esque.
to do that. So you really need to, they should have you be one.
Well, maybe call them up and give a suggestion. But as far as my friends go and my classmates, I have a friend who's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I have a friend in Lisbon, Portugal. I have a friend in Massachusetts. We have, as far as my own class that I grew up with, we're all over the world. I have a friend who's in St. Martin in the Caribbean. So we're pretty diverse.
Which one do you want to visit the most? Just because of where he is. St. Martin sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I like Chattanooga too.
I would go to Lisbon.
Lisbon. Oh, yeah,
There
like
you
Spain.
go.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak Spanish?
No.
No.
Although someone told me that I should learn it.
I know. Everybody tells me the same thing. I should learn adios. I know adios. Amigos.
Well, this is a really great event for all of the community to gather, as are all of your events. I think the entourage is growing.
Yeah, well, thank God we look to keep growing every day, and that's what our job is. That's what our mission is, as long as we're moving forward.
What I think is going to go viral, though, is this video. The Rabbi and the Flamingo. It's just... and the Rabbi from your angle doesn't look like it's at the microphone, but on the picture, it's right at the microphone. So.
Maybe they'll hear your suggestion to be a keynote.
Okay, let's see. The celebration of the Simchat Torah is happening again starting this Thursday and ending on Friday. It's always a full day event for you guys. And let's see, what the website for the Chabad Lubavitch Jewish Center is jewishmarian.org, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the phone number? What is the phone number?
291-2218.
Robin and I are playing Hava Nagila in our little set that we're doing,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Where are you playing today?
We don't have a place today.
Yeah.
We don't know if we have. Maybe somebody will
We have
call
3
later on,
places this
make a
weekend.
suggestion. Yeah. We've raised what, 470 something.
Yeah.
We've almost up to $500.
Wow. And you only play over the weekends?
No, we've played during the weekdays too.
Yeah.
But not as all. The weekends is usually the best.
And both of you play? Robin also plays?
Yeah.
Yeah, mandolin. Robin's that mandolin. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we got to come by and so anyway. So did I ask you this before and I just forgot? What does Hava Nagila actually mean?
Means let's go celebrate.
Oh, that's right. I did ask you that.
Or yeah.
So and when we play at like a nursing home, everybody knows that part of the lyric. Hava Nagila.
Yeah,
That's all
they
they
do.
know.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough. Let's go celebrate.
Let's
That
go
sounds good,
celebrate.
right?
I gotta remember that.
And is that where you play in nursing homes?
We have, yeah. We don't busk at nursing homes. We just play there. Mm-hmm. No, we busk in public places
Yeah.
where it's probably illegal to busk.
That's okay. They turn their heads. We're doing it for a good
Well,
cause.
good to see you, and you're such a great man in our community, and you are such a gentle speaking person, and obviously a gentle soul as well. Give our regards to everybody, your wife and Connie, and
No, thank you for having me
children.
as usual. It's always exciting to come and talk to you guys. And I want to wish everyone on the air a happy Simchat Torah and a happy Sukkot. And we should have more celebrations.
yeah.
And come by 6:30 on Thursday night.
Have a good time.
Okay.
That's right.
And have a Nagila.
That's
Have
right.
a Nagila.
Wait, what was the guy? Let's celebrate. Dan, who's that?
Casey and the Sunshine
Celebration. It's in that same league. We should like do a medley.
I'll be waiting to hear you guys play. Maybe you can play for us sometime.
When we get Hava Nagila actually polished, we'll be over.
Okay.
We
Sounds like we got a deal.
We don't want to do it. All right, we'll take a little break and we will be right back.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala home store on Northwest 27th.